Okay, we're recording. Hi, this is Lennis from
Hi.
Praise Works Health and Wellness and Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond. And I'm here with the wonderful and gorgeous Ramona Fastula.
You were close.
I'm
You
getting
get it.
it. This is an
Repetition.
ongoing joke. It's a
Repetition.
mental block. I don't know why I can't say the name. I'm mentally blocked. She is a health coach and a nutritionist, and we're here to talk today about being gluten free. And before we get started, let's make sure we tweet our show. If you're listening in the replay, please tweet the show, share it with everybody because we're going to be sharing some really good information. And it's all about eating gluten free for beginners. And that would be me because I know a little bit about it, but Ramona is the true expert. So I'm going to be asking Ramona some questions about it and sharing what little I know about it. And please, for those of you that hop in during the time that we are broadcasting, just let me know that you want to talk and we shall talk. And if you have a question, just go to the chat side and put /Q and ask your question. I'm sure lots of people want to know about eating gluten-free. There's so much talk going on about eating gluten-free these days. And before we get started, I just want to say one thing. My magazine has come out. It's Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond e-magazine, and you can go to praiseworks.biz and go ahead and take a look at the magazine. It's right there embedded in the site. And the thing I'm excited most about that magazine is that this is our 7th issue. And it's all about loving the total you, mind, body, and spirit. And the focus is on doing the things that you should be doing to take good care of you. Ramona has written a great article on being heart healthy since this is the month of February. Boy, February represents Heart Month, love, breast cancer awareness, Black History Month. It's just a busy month. And my magazine came out. So I'm so glad that it's out. So take a look at it. Some fantastic information. In fact, on the cover is Dr. Rovina Brock. She is America's nutritionist, and she will be on our blab next Thursday, along with our other wellness woman, Nancy Ferrari of the Nancy Ferrari Show. And she's going to be talking about living the life you imagined. And Dr. Rowe, is going to be talking about how you can stay alive and healthy to live the life you imagined. So tune in next week for sure. But today we're going to be talking about eating gluten-free. And I think the very first thing we want to cover is, first of all, what is gluten? Where does it come from? Why is it not good for some people? So, Ramona.
Gluten's a protein. It's found in wheat, it's found in rye, and it's found in barley. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that don't have the enzyme to digest it. And the scary part, Linus, is that usually people are not diagnosed with celiac until their 5th decade of life. So they go through their whole lives with all these issues. And 75% of people that have celiac and gluten sensitivities, they don't have digestive issues. And doctors only know digestive issues when it comes to celiac. It truly is a multi-system condition because it affects everything. And I believe in functional medicine, and in that every system is attached to every other system in the body. There are doctors like Dr. Mark Hyman, who I absolutely love. He practices functional medicine. And this is a prime example of that. If you don't have digestive issues, then doctors may not even think about celiac disease. And honestly, when I'm working with clients, I talk about their thyroid. We talk about, are they getting headaches? Do they have thyroid issues? All of these issues are a side effect of celiac. They might not even have digestive issues at all. And that's a scary thing. Brain issues.
Yes, it's interesting. That's interesting what you said about the symptoms, because I have one daughter, when she was a little girl, that used to have issues around that. And it looked like she might have outgrown it. But when I take a look now that my awareness has been raised in terms of some of the issues she was having, definitely it was probably a gluten issue. But she doesn't complain about it anymore. Can you possibly outgrow your sensitivity to gluten?
I don't think you can outgrow it. It's a genetic thing. It's in your genetic profile. But honestly, when it comes to gluten, the biggest issue is malabsorption of nutrients. Because in the small intestine, you have something. Can you see my hand? So there's something called villi. right? And
Mm-hmm.
it atrophies. So what happens is the villi, right, it gets damaged and it flattens. So that means
Mm-hmm.
that you can't absorb nutrients the way you're supposed to. So especially
Mm-hmm.
women, I mean, your calcium, your fiber, your B vitamins, they're not absorbing that. So that's why, I always say when it comes to gluten issues, you always want to work with somebody, whether it's a health coach, whether it's a dietitian, whether it's a nutritionist that really understands nutrition, because malabsorption of nutrients is the biggest problem. I mean, there's a host of other issues that go along with it, like I just mentioned, but when you're not
Mm-hmm.
absorbing the nutrients that your body needs, it's going to sidetrack every system in the body, and it's very scary.
Yeah, and in fact, now one of the things that I understand about eating gluten free is that there's a lot of misinformation out there in terms of what has gluten, what doesn't have gluten. I think I told you the other day I was in the grocery store and I saw this. It was some chicken. It was said it was organic chicken, and it said it was gluten free.
Right.
Now, normally, chicken is not necessarily gluten free. Is that true, or?
You know what? I don't eat meat, and I stay away from meat for a lot of different reasons. I know we've had this conversation, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that, and I don't get into that. That's another topic in itself. But yeah, I mean, you do have to be aware. Yeah, chicken doesn't have. Where would chicken have gluten in it? It's just another thing that food manufacturers are trying to do to get you to believe that, oh, it's healthy. There's no gluten in it, right? So it's got, but meanwhile, it could have antibiotics, it can have hormones in it. You don't know that. Scary, very scary. And another thing, there's a lot of things that have gluten in it that people are not even aware of. For example, chapstick. Who would have thought that chapstick has gluten in it? The When you have an envelope and you're licking the envelope, the sticky part of that envelope, there's gluten in that. Even things like communion
Wow.
wafers, right? You go to get
Mm.
communion at church
Yes.
and the wafer has gluten in it. What do? Like people don't realize these things. They're
Yeah.
hidden.
So if you're someone with celiac disease and you are licking your envelope or taking communion, you're going to have some issues.
Yeah, but I mean, so
Wow.
many. I have my notes right here. I'm gonna look at the notes and kind of read off all these things. Medications can have gluten in it, so you always have to ask if you're on
Mm-hmm.
medication. Does this have gluten in it? Cough syrup has barley in
Mm-hmm.
it, which aggravates celiac disease. I mean, look at this list: candy, communion wafers, marinades, panko breadcrumbs, pasta. You got to be careful with your pastas.
Wow.
Processed lunch meat,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
croutons, dressing, seasoning, sauces. The list goes on and on and on. And it's really, really, really scary what celiac and gluten sensitivities can do to the body. You got to be careful with your grains. Quinoa, millet, those
Mm-hmm.
things are fine. You got your teff and your rices. I would not recommend white rice, but because there's no nutritional content in it, but white rice, brown
Right.
rice,
This
basmati rice, those things are fine. Even the flours you have, and there's so many different, it's amazing the different kinds of flours that are out there. So you don't have to consume whole wheat flour. You have chickpea flour, which I actually have, and I've been utilizing that. There's coconut flour. I haven't tried that yet. Have you tried coconut flour?
You know what? We talked about that the other week, and I looked for it, and I couldn't find it. I was at a Whole Food store, so I think I need to go to a health store and see if I can find it. So I haven't been able to find it yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that. I try not. I don't really use a lot of flour in anything
Mm-hmm.
because I don't eat. I don't bake. I don't eat a lot of sweets or anything. I don't make gravies or anything. But I just wanted to try it and see what the consistency was like.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something else because some of us, and in fact, somebody just joined us. You know what? For some reason, I don't have a side screen here where I can type things in. Do you have that on yours,
I
Ramona?
do. Somebody said
I've got my question.
flour, flaxseed flour. There's so many
Yeah,
different kinds that are out there. You're right.
Ramona, Ramona, can you
I
hear
can.
me?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can. I was asking you, do you have on the right side of your screen the ability to type things in? Because
I
I
do.
don't have it. It's just
I
like,
do. Mhm.
You check. Okay, great. And on the left side, I do. If you, I can see questions. If anyone wants to ask a question, just type Q/chat, and then your question will pop up on the left hand side. I can see that. But for some reason, my other side, where I type everything in and say hello to people as they come in, I can't. I can't see it. Another blabism. These, the platform's imperfect, but I still love it anyway. So welcome to whoever just joined, and welcome to the replay viewers. We're talking about living a gluten-free life for beginners, and we're just talking about some of the basics because this can get very complicated, and there's a lot of interesting information out there that is just that. It's interesting, but it may not actually be accurate. So we definitely want to encourage you to do your research. And I always say that when you're going through the process of getting diagnosed about anything, the first thing you should bring with you to your doctor's appointment, besides yourself, is a pad and pen or pencil. So you can take notes, check it out, get second opinions, and ask questions. This is your life, your body. You're responsible for it. You don't go into your doctor's office and just lay there and say, okay, whatever. No, you go in there, you become an active participant in what's going on with your body. They're doctors, not gods. They don't have all the answers, and you certainly should have plenty of questions when it's talking about your health, okay? So just make sure that if you're experiencing some of the symptoms we're getting ready to talk about right now when it comes to having celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, you write those symptoms down, you discuss it with your doctor. If he thinks you have celiac disease, you're still not sure, you can get a second opinion. But the most important thing is to be informed. Keep informing yourself. Keep being an active participant in your care. Now, let's talk a little bit about that. Some of the symptoms that people might have if they are gluten sensitive or have celiac disease.
There's a lot. There's definitely a lot. From abdominal pain, diarrhea, weight loss, fatigue, bloating, dermatitis. It can even affect your skin. And then the non-classic symptoms: heartburn, pancreatitis, neuropathy, alopecia, headaches, thyroid issues, osteoporosis could be caused by gluten sensitive. The list goes on and on. Fertility issues, cognitive impairment. It really affects every system in the body. Irritability, brain fog, and I always talk about these things when I first meet with a client. They may not, like I said, they may not have digestive orders. It may manifest itself in another way. I had a client that has MS, and I actually had him go and get tested for celiac, and the doctor was like, wow, that was a really good catch. He said, I never thought to associate gluten with MS. So we took the gluten out of his diet, and he was actually feeling much, much better. But it can cause neurological issues. Thyroid conditions are huge, especially with women. Hypothyroidism. How do you know it wasn't caused by gluten? You know what I mean?
That's right. Many times, nutritionists and health coaches will talk to you. You have some of these symptoms about maybe removing certain things from your diet and beginning to get rid of the gluten in your diet. And almost always, people begin to feel better because a lot of people are sensitive to gluten. It may not exacerbate itself in such a severe way to be celiac, but things like, for instance, diarrhea and skin rashes, things that we just kind of put up with and take a pill or something. But sometimes that could be indicative of something like the need to be more gluten-free. And it's difficult to be completely gluten-free, and I'm not necessarily advocating that if you got diarrhea or a stomach ache or something, but trying to eat gluten-free and removing as much gluten as possible is probably just a good practice in terms of just feeling overall better in your body.
Yeah, and I would say if you have prolonged symptoms, there's something causing it. And, and again, I have a lot of respect for the medical community. We're amazing. Doctors are amazing at emergency medicine and diagnosis. I think with celiac disease, there's more education that needs to be done, and the Celiac Foundation is actually traveling around the country to teach doctors how to properly diagnose it. But sometimes doctors will say, I don't know what the cause of it is. Well, something's causing these issues. Something. You just have to find the right person to figure that out for you.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a very good point, because one of the things that I think the general public may not understand when it comes to the American Medical Association and westernized trained doctors is that normally the nutrition courses they might take in medical school is just a smidgen in comparison to everything else they have to study. So they're really not equipped to deal with causation when it comes to things that we might be eating. It's just not part of their overall scope of study. It's not that they are not qualified or not well trained, right, but they can't know it all. That's why health coaches like us and naturopaths and other kinds of holistic doctors and things are very helpful. And that's why you can help them also, because you can begin to do the research in terms of things you should be eating or adding to your diet if you think that you have a gluten sensitivity. Your doctor's not going to always have all of the information when it comes to things like that. And that's something else. Talking about gluten sensitivities and causation and stuff, with the American medical doctors in most cases are trained to take a look at symptoms and then treat the symptoms. Very rarely do they really get a full chance to dig all the way down to causation in terms of what's actually causing it. And with the whole idea with celiac and gluten sensitivity, what's causing it is gluten. And because it falls in the realm of what we eat and nutrition, that's one of the reasons why they have some difficulty in diagnosing it. So this is just great information that we want to share with you to kind of raise your level of awareness. I certainly don't want everybody to run out thinking, oh my God, I have gluten because I have a stomach ache and a rash. No. There's so much more.
We do have questions coming in, and someone said, you know what, and it's moving up my screen, so here we go. How do you separate gluten issues from any other disease? It sounds like everything. And again, working with a health coach or working with a dietitian or a nutritionist. And, you know, I actually went back and I took a class on celiac disease because I realized that it was coming up a lot. And then, you know, I kind of ask the same questions when I'm working with clients. And then I thought, you know, wow, everything's connected. You know, I can have somebody that has thyroid issues, and my first thought is, okay, do they have gluten sensitivities or celiac? I send them right to their doctor, you know, and I give them the reason, okay, thyroid issues can be linked to a gluten sensitivity. So let's get you tested and then go from there. And I also wanted to mention about testing too. It takes about 3 tests for it to come up positive if you do have celiac or gluten sensitivity. And why that is, I guess because our testing isn't quite up to par like it should be. Like I know in Italy, when you're a baby, they test you immediately for celiac disease. You know, and what the testings are. Yeah, what the testings are in Italy, honestly, I'm not really sure. But I thought that was interesting that there they test immediately when the baby's born. But here,
well, you know what? One thing that could be the reason, maybe because they've had so much irritability around the whole issue of gluten and possible celiac disease.
Pasta.
Take a look at their diet. Pasta is a big piece of their diet, and of course, if they're using traditional pasta, it has gluten. So that could be one of the reasons. Which is it's very interesting. Now, the other thing I'm interested to know if they're since many times it's not diagnosed in Western medicine until your 5th decade, until you're in your 50s in some cases, with celiac anyway. Are they testing for celiac or are they testing for gluten sensitivity? That would be an interesting question to ask.
I'm not sure regarding the testing around all that. So I really couldn't answer that question. But I definitely think, 3 times to take a test in order for it to show up positive, something's not right there. You should be able to take 1 test and that's it.
Well, I can share something in regards to testing, traditional testing versus the kind of testing you might get from a naturopath that works with different laboratories. I have nodules on my thyroid that need to be removed. And initially, they wanted to take out my thyroid, which is healthy. It's a healthy, functioning thyroid. And so that's when I began to think, okay, something's up here. Because why? Right. You should never remove a healthy organ if you don't have to. It's not, I don't have cancer. All my levels were fine. So I talked to one of my many friends, one of my friends who's a holistic doc. She's been on my show several times, written for the magazine. And I said, Cammie, have you ever worked with this before? And first of all, she said it was extremely common, very common. Many times women have nodules and don't even know that they have them because it doesn't cause any problem. But the other thing is that a lot of medical doctors, when they see this, because it's on top of the thyroid, they say the thyroid is functioning but not healthy because you have this thing on it. So they remove the whole thyroid. But she said if they could just run a few more tests, which they don't run, she said, I can run tests to tell you what your levels are exactly and how the nodules are impacting your thyroid. I can run those tests. And I said, well, why don't they run those tests? Do they not know about them? Well, most doctors might know about them. But if you're in a managed care situation, which many, many, many people in the United States are, they just don't have the authority to run those tests because it is something that most doctors don't run. They're going by averages. They're not going necessarily by the individual you. So all this to say, when it comes to testing, and you're thinking, gee, there must be more to the story, there probably is. And many times you can get answers in terms of more to the story from a naturopath doctor or a holistic doctor who works with laboratories that run other kinds of tests that can give you more information about how you're really doing.
We have some more questions coming in, actually. Someone said that, someone actually made a comment that they did have multiple sclerosis. And for that, I would say definitely get tested for gluten sensitivities. And also work with a coach, work with a health coach, someone that really, really understands nutrition. Like I said, I've had clients that have had MS, and through working with me, they're actually doing really, really well. But there could be a link between gluten and MS. So I would definitely get that tested if I were you. Definitely.
Definitely. Yeah. I think in a situation like this, because everybody's a little bit different when it comes to the whole gluten thing or anything. Actually, it's always helpful to work with a health coach, especially when it comes from the nutrition side, because there are things that are in your diet that if you take them away, you can feel so much better. Or if you add something to, and most health coaches and holistic health coaches can tell you what those things might be. And it might take a little time, but you feel so much better once you figure out what it is that might be causing the irritation. Now, were there any other questions? Unfortunately, I can't see the right side of my screen.
Someone
There's no
said that
there.
they have lupus, fibromyalgia, MS, and diabetes. I would strongly caution you to get checked out as far as the gluten goes, because again, it's functional medicine. Everything affects everything else. So if one system starts to break down, it's going to affect another system. So you're dealing with a number of different conditions. So I would definitely get that checked out. Someone also asked a really good question. So should we give up all gluten? Hold on, let me see the rest of the question here. Can you wow, we have a lot of questions coming in. Doctors don't like.
Wow. Yes, I can't see all of that. I wish I could see some of it.
Someone said doctors don't like a patient coming in the room telling them what they need to be tested for. Must think you are a know-it-all. You know what? I don't think it's true in all cases, though. It depends on the doctor.
Yeah, it does. And you know what? If I had a doctor like that, I would seriously think about changing doctors, because a lot of doctors now know that patients are coming in wanting to ask more questions because their level of awareness is raised. A lot of doctors these days have health coaches on staff to help them with the questions that they can't answer, because they're beginning to realize that even though they're well trained and have excellent backgrounds, they don't know everything. So if a doctor, and you can approach it, if you have a doctor that's sensitive about this, saying, I'm just trying to understand more about my body. I really don't know the answers to this. That's why I'm asking these questions. And I understand what you're saying. Some doctors are sensitive about that. But I would say that unless you're like totally in love with your doctor, if he's getting an attitude about you asking questions about your health, your body, you may want to think about, is this a relationship you want to continue to nurture?
Someone said, should we all live gluten-free just to cover our bases in being healthy and fit people, because the symptom list correlates with any disease? All right, so this question actually comes up a lot, and I would say Not 100%. So, for example, there are times when I don't eat gluten. Like with pasta, I'll do gluten-free pasta. The truth is,
Mhm.
when you go completely gluten-free, when you don't have to, you're missing out on a lot of nutrients that are in certain foods. So, yeah. So,
Right, right, right.
I would say it's on a case by case basis.
It's interesting.
And again, that just reiterates
Yeah,
the
yeah.
point that, people should be working more with health coaches and nutritionists and dietitians, because they really understand food. And like I said, if I'm dealing with someone that has a thyroid issue or that has MS or that has diabetes, my first inclination, let's see if you have a gluten sensitivity, because that could be linked to all of those conditions. So
Hmm.
working with someone
Yeah.
who,
I was going to say that I get that question a lot too, and it's just like, well, should I just give up all meat and just be vegetarian because it's so much healthier? And one of the ways to find out is to have some of those tests run to find out what it is that you do need, because sometimes some bodies need more things than others. Not everyone is the same. Some bodies can't tolerate any meat, so they have vegetarians. Other bodies can tolerate a little bit more, even though Ramona will tell you that it's really hard on the digestive system. Some bodies cannot tolerate any gluten. Some can take a whole lot of gluten and it doesn't cause any problems as far as they know. So I think in a lot of cases, all things in moderation. We know in general that a
and
lot of gluten can cause some problems. So when
no,
you
I was
see,
going to say, and
go ahead.
your body tells you when something's wrong. Know your body. When something's off, listen and get it checked out, because a lot of people tend to ignore it. Oh, it's this, it could be that. I'm not going to worry about it.
Right,
I'm not
right.
going to go to the doctors. It'll go away. Well, a lot of times it doesn't go away. So just know your
Right,
body. Your body will tell you when something is
right.
out of balance. Listen to it. Hmm.
Yeah, I know mine does. I just experienced that. I had the window open, and I'm in Dallas, and there's a lot of pollen in the air because of last year's weather. It was a lot of flooding, a lot of water. Now it's super warm, and all these spores and stuff are everywhere. And I'm sitting by the window, and all of a sudden I started feeling achy, had a lump in my throat, just not feeling good, and I realized it's the pollen. I mean, because normally I feel fine, and all of a sudden it changes. And so now I, went ahead and took a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and now I'm beginning to feel better. But your body will tell you when something's not right, and we're so used to just discounting it. Especially in the United States, we live such a fast-paced life, and we don't have time. We drop a pill, we do this, we do that to cover the symptom, but we never really take time as we should to go to the causation. One thing about gluten is that if you decide to eat a gluten-free diet, you will see some differences, and get to the bottom of some of the causations in terms of what's been making you feel poorly that maybe the doctors
Right.
haven't been able to diagnose. Were there any more
Someone
questions?
asked,
I
can
wish
you
I could
find
see them.
gluten-free items outside the organic section in the food stores? Are gluten-free foods easily labeled for consumers? Um, there are a lot of websites that sell gluten-free foods. And you know what? I apologize, because I thought I had written down several names, but I don't see them here. Um, if you want to shoot me an email, then I'll
There,
provide that list for
there
you.
Yeah, I was going to say that there are some stores that are beginning to carry gluten-free products. Some stores, traditional grocery stores that have health food sections, will have some gluten-free products. But as Ramona had said earlier, you have to read the back to make sure that they truly are gluten-free. Some things might have less gluten in them than other things, but when they say on the label gluten-free, that may mean that it doesn't have as much, but it may not be totally gluten free. So you want to look for that to see what that means. But I have seen, believe it or not, gluten free products in places like Costco, which is beginning to show you, yes, and they are truly gluten free. And that's just beginning to show you the awareness that's coming around, even to the mass producer retailers trying to get in on this market. Just make sure that you read the back of the label to see what they're calling gluten free, because in the back of the label it breaks it down a little bit more. But you're right. There's a lot of great sites on the internet that you can
for
go
everyone
to.
to see. I did write down a few. So yeah, there's definitely a lot out there. There's definitely a lot out there, and we're lucky now, because if this was 10 years ago, there was virtually nothing out there for gluten free. Nothing. So you really were
Yeah,
stuck.
it was difficult. And here's something else too. I was reading something on WebMD, and this article was written maybe about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and they were talking about how it's unfortunate for people who have celiac disease because their food bill goes up. It's so expensive. And they're talking about how expensive organic food is. And that is changing now. That was just 6 years ago, but that's beginning to change. You can go to farmers markets in your neighborhoods and buy organic foods. Sometimes in the grocery stores, organic foods are on sale now because the volume is there and they can afford to put them on sale. So it's getting better. You don't necessarily have to break the budget. You buy things in season, and that helps a little bit with the food budget. And you shop around. You look in your. They still do have sales that come out on the Wednesday newspaper, where you can look and see what's on sale and plan accordingly in terms of what you might want to buy that's organic. So same thing with gluten. One of the things I like to get at Costco, because I probably eat maybe 70% gluten free. I'm not totally, but I have this carb thing going on, and I like to eat these crackers that are gluten free, and they're delicious. It's my guilty pleasure. And I got.
No, I was going to say, and I'm
say?
actually writing an ebook right now, and I was doing some research, and Walmart actually has a brand out. It's an organic brand called Wild Oats, and they were popular in the 80s. I don't remember them, but it's organic, and they're actually charging 25% less on organic food than their competitors. Someone actually asked about, can the poverty or below poverty population afford to eat gluten-free? If they need to become gluten-free, what tips would you give to make this happen with little to no budget? Walmart. They have a full line of organic foods, and it's 25% less. Organic, gluten-free. I would recommend checking them out. You can even go online and do some research on that too.
Yes, and also watch the sales in the newspapers for things also that could be gluten free or organic. Watch for those sales, because they do put them on sale now, because they have more and more people who are buying it. It's even better than it was 5 years ago in terms of availability and pricing. So yes, you can.
I know we have more questions coming in, but I'm trying to get my cursor to scroll down, and it's not working. So that's why I'm not looking at you. I'm looking in the corner.
Okay. Yeah, there's something going on, because I can't see anything at all. So I don't know what I'm thinking. Is it used? Did I do something myself? But I don't.
Can't see.
I don't see that I
can't see.
So now I'm getting cold. Getting cold again.
One thing I feel like we should talk about too, that is very common when it comes to celiac disease, is leaky gut syndrome. Do you talk to your clients about leaky gut, Linus?
Oh. I've had one that talked about it, and I referred them to someone who specialized in nutrition for that. And for her, that was the first time I'd ever heard of it.
It's not really recognized in the medical community. So what happens is the lining of the small intestine gets destroyed from the celiac, and what happens is undigested protein slips into the bloodstream. Okay, we're supposed to digest our food. We shouldn't have food particles in our bloodstream. And when that happens, we have more questions coming in. When that happens, it leads to a host of other problems. So the lining of the small intestine essentially is not working properly. And this is what happens. But some signs of leaky gut syndrome, and I don't know if I said this, but this is not really recognized, unfortunately, by the medical community, but it is real, because I've had clients that have dealt with this. But I mean, there's 11 things I could name right now. Food sensitivities, Crohn's disease, autoimmune diseases. Someone mentioned lupus. I mean, the leaky gut syndrome, thyroid problems, autism, depression, skin problems, acne, rosacea, fibromyalgia, joint pain, headaches, low energy. This could be caused by leaky gut syndrome, which could have been caused by gluten sensitivity. So these are the things that we need to get these things checked out, because it really does affect every system.
Yes, in fact, just recently, just recently, you've been hearing more and more about gut health and the importance of gut health and how it impacts our overall health. And I do believe that the traditional practitioners are kind of catching up a little bit, but holistic doctors have been talking about this for years. And I mean, even Hippocrates, he talked a
Yeah,
lot about gut health, which is what, medicine is founded on his thoughts, and why over time they kind of dropped that and stopped studying that. I'm not quite sure, but an unhealthy gut, as she said, can contribute to all kinds of a variety of diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, autism. Depression, chronic fatigue syndrome is a big purveyor when it comes to just unhealthy guts. So that's another thing that you want to start to do some research on and ask questions about. And again, if you're not getting the answers to the questions that you want, instead of continuing to go to the same practitioner, consider going to another practitioner, because not all practitioners know everything. It could be that it's time for you to go to another. And this is another thing, too. Many times in managed care, they have you go to a GP, and then the GP refers out. Now, I don't know what the quota is in terms of how many referrals they can make, or how many patients they have to see, and how many referrals and everything else. But there definitely is, because I worked for Kaiser for 7 years. There is a process that they go through in terms of making sure that they keep so many things with their practice and so many things they refer out. When you get to a point, if you're in a managed care situation where you're feeling that whatever's going on is beyond the experiential set of your general practitioner, who is your referring physician, you tell him, I want you to refer me to a specialist. Who would be a specialist with things going on with my tummy, or things going on with my throat, or things going on with my arm? And they have to refer you out. So that's, once again, it's managed care. So we just have to learn how to manage our care through managed care. Tell them what you want, and they have to do it. Don't be
Yeah,
afraid to
and the
speak
good
up
news
for
is there's
yourself.
so many different resources that are out there. There's so many different resources. You just have to do your research.
That's right.
I mean, aren't you important? Isn't your health? My dad, and I mentioned this several times, he passed away from complications of diabetes in 2001, but he always said to me, Ramona, he said, when you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And it's the truth, because your health affects every aspect of your life, from your work to the relationships that you keep. If you're moody, I can tell you right now, your relationships are not going to be that good. But something as simple as gluten could be causing the
Yeah,
moodiness. So find out what the cause of the issue is. The body's meant to feel good. We're not meant to be in a state where we're not feeling good. So if we're not feeling good, find out what the cause of that
right.
is. Work with the right people, and they'll get you to where you want to be.
Absolutely. Do we have any more
Let's
questions going
see.
through?
Okay. Someone mentioned, can you have leaky gut without it actually leaking from your gut, or something along those lines? And no, I mean, it's leaky gut syndrome. It's going to leak out, and it's going to go right into your bloodstream.
Yeah. You're going to know that something's going on. Yeah, something's going to be leaking. I mean, and it is a syndrome, because it's ongoing. It doesn't stop until you figure out how to stop it. So that definitely is
And
a clear sign that something's going on. If your
yeah,
gut is
I mean, it
literally leaking.
truly is a multi-system issue, because like I said, when one system goes down, it's going to affect everything. So, I mean, it's it's serious. But when it comes to leaky gut, there are things that you can do. There are foods that you can eat, and like bone broth. Now, I've honestly never had bone broth, but this is coming up a lot. Someone at the gym, at my gym that I was working with, he's a diabetic. He mentioned something about bone broth the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about how his mom used to make bone broth
Mm-hmm.
when he was a kid. But bone broth is actually great for repairing the damaged cells within the small intestine. So things like
Yes, and if you have an unhealthy gut, there are ways that you can begin to restore the health and to restore your gut flora, which is the good bacteria you need to have in your gut. First of all, you want to remove all the food toxins in your diet, and a good way to do that is get rid of processed food as much as possible. You want to
yep,
eat plenty of fermentable fibers, like sweet potato,
exactly.
yam, yucca, fermented foods like yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi. I love kimchi, or other, high quality multi species probiotics. And you definitely want to, interestingly enough, manage your stress. It's amazing how stress impacts our bodies in an adverse way when we are in a situation where we are totally stressed out. One of the first things you want to do when you have any kind of health concern is take a look at the amount of stress you're under and what you can do to begin to reduce that stress, because it's difficult for the body to function in optimum when you're like this all the time, stressed out, which is very common in our society. Many of the things that we suffer from, a lot of them have their roots in
Absolutely.
stress, believe it or not. And there's reasons for that. Stress just wreaks havoc to the immune system, eats up all the good nutrients in our bodies, and our bodies don't even get a chance to recover. We're not sleeping well. So at night, when we're supposed to be getting that deep sleep where the cells can regenerate and heal and stuff is working for us, that doesn't happen. And so eventually you break down and you begin to exhibit all kinds of stuff. So take a look at your stress level too when it comes to anything having to do with staying
And
healthy
we all
and,
know
and,
the
and getting
effect that
healthy.
stress can have on the heart. It's really interesting when you're stressed
Yes.
out, your body releases cortisol, and what the cortisol does, it actually causes little tears in your arteries that could lead to a heart attack. Think about it. Every time you get mad or stressed out or anxious, this is what's happening inside of your body. So we all need to make a conscious effort to really lower our stress levels, because it literally
Hey, I just came up with an idea for our next blab in the next couple of weeks. I just thought of something. We got to talk about that. We got to talk
yeah,
about
I'm a stress
stress,
management
what it
coach as well.
does.
So yeah, I have
Yeah,
plenty to say about that. Yeah.
yeah, right. So we're going to talk about that. Absolutely, we're going to talk about that. And I specialize in stress too because it's one of my favorite topics because I suffered from it at one time. Stress and anxiety. So real soon, in a couple of weeks, next week, by the way, we're going to have with us Dr. Rowe. Or Rowena, she is America's Nutrition Coach. She's on the cover of Wellness Woman Beyond magazine, my magazine, but she's also been on CNN, Anderson Cooper, Ramona. That reminds me, I have a message for you
Okay.
from Dr. Rowe. She is an expert. She is the celebrity nutritionist. In fact, she helped Sherry, the lady Sherry, I can't think of her last name, on uh, what's the name of Barbara
Sherry
Walters'
Shepherd on
talk show
you?
that she has during the day with the women? The View. The Sherry Shepherd. She was Sherry Shepherd's nutritionist. She's one of the reasons why Sherry lost all that weight and stayed healthy at the same time. Sometimes people lose a lot of weight
I
and they
think
don't look healthy or stay healthy. So
I'm
she's
sorry.
going to be
I think
on.
Sherry Shepherd is a
Say what?
diabetic. I think she's spoken about her struggles with
Is
diabetes.
she?
So good for her. Good for her.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, good for her. So Dr. Rowe will be on next week to answer your questions about nutrition again. And also we're going to have with us Nancy Ferrari of the Nancy Ferrari Show. She's going to be on talking about living the life you've imagined. So we're going to have some little motivational, inspirational stuff going on next week. Tell your friends about this show every Thursday evening at around 5 or so. Thanks for the pops. Thank you. Thank you. Ramon and I are going to be on talking about all kinds of issues regarding your health, your wellness, especially when it comes to everything operating at optimum for your mind, body, and spirit. And could you do me a favor, Ramona? Make sure you put in your information so people know where to contact you if they're interested in your services. And could you put down my website too? So if people want to get my magazine, you can subscribe, go to my website, subscribe to the magazine, take a look at these articles. They're awesome. They really are. We cover things like essential oils, how to stay heart healthy, how yoga can help you to be fit by the spring, all kinds of information about affirmations and how to use them. You just got to go and get the publication. Oh, and I have to do this shout out because I'm so proud of it. Okay, here we go. I just found out that my show, I have a show called The Wellness Journey. It's been on for about 4 years, but I just found out today by accident, because I was just looking at the stats, you know how you look at your numbers. And I just found out by accident that The Wellness Journey has had 23,000 downloads since January 2016.
So people want this
so
information. People want this information, and it's there. It's there.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do. So check my show out on The Wellness Journey on Blog Talk and also the Self-Discovery Radio Network. I'm on iTunes and SoundCloud. Somebody's listening to it. And great people like Ramona are on the show. I get a chance to talk to some of the premier experts in the field of mind, body, spirit, wellness. So just a couple plugs there. Go ahead, Ramona. I know you have a few plugs too. There's some things going on in your life that are fantastic.
Well, I am currently going to be adding some products to, to what I'm doing, and I'm creating some ebooks and some audio downloads. And the first ebook is going to be available next week. So, if anybody's interested, it's healthy living for the busy professional. So I do a lot of talks in corporate, and I kind of compiled, the speeches that I give, and I put it together and I put it into this book. It's an easy read, and there's a lot of different tips on just how to make life easier and be healthy when you're constantly on the go, when you're traveling, you just feel like you don't have the time. So, and I'm always taking suggestions for other topics as well. I listen to what people want to learn more about, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So there's going to be a lot of informational products that I'm going to be putting out within the next few weeks. I'm really, really excited about that.
Well, fantastic. And that reminded me, I'm glad you mentioned that, talking about new products. There's a couple of things that are going to be happening with Wellness Woman 40, the branding. We're going to be having our soft launch on our online wellness center. We're going to have an online wellness center, Wellness Woman Hub, where all kinds of experts in health and wellness are going to be there to answer your questions. You can read articles and things like that about stuff like what we're talking about now. Those little known, I wouldn't say little known, but those things that maybe your doctors can't answer or don't talk about as much, we're going to be talking about those things. So stay tuned for that. Of course, once it launches, we're going to do a lab. And so make sure you follow the show so that when these things start happening, we're going to blab about it and you'll be on the cutting edge of what's going on in our businesses. And the other thing is that I'm developing a program for you wellness coaches out there, for you coaches that are just now getting into the virtual world and trying to figure out how to use Blab, how to use Periscope, what particular social media venues should you be on, where is your demographic, how do you get the message out. I've been doing this for 7 years, so I decided to put together a social media program and branding program for wellness coaches. So if you're in the wellness genre, or if you know anybody who is in the wellness genre, let me know. Stay tuned, because I'm going to be rolling out group coaching and individual coaching for those wellness professionals who want to do business online and want to put their brand out there, but just aren't quite sure where to start or how to do it. So I'm going to be the wellness lady for wellness coaches when it comes to getting you out there on social media and helping you make a living virtually, because it can be done. Hopefully it won't take you as long as it took me, because I had to learn OJT. So I'm going to share with you some of my secrets that I learned the hard way. Saved you some time, that's for sure. Yes. Oh, and I see, hello, Victoria. Looks like Victoria Moore joined us. Hello. I can't see you on the side. I don't know if you're asking any questions.
We actually have some more comments. I made a comment about the fact that my info products are going to be very affordable, and there's going to be a lot of information in it. So somebody mentioned, he said, I want to make a way for, we got more comments coming in. I want to make a way for poor people to get the good food and information as well. And we want to help people. That's the whole goal. We want to get the information out there, and we really, really want to teach people. So, it just makes me sad, that people that that would be considered poor. They're not getting the information that they need. So, oh, I'm going to get emotional.
Well,
It's not. It's not.
yeah, it's not right. Health is for all. Yeah, health is for all. It is not for just the people with money. And
Yeah.
I hear you, sister, on that one. This, people's lives are lost because of lack of information. And the internet has made the ability to get this information, good information, in an affordable way. And I'm so glad that I'm a part of this movement. I started doing this 7 years ago with the idea of getting the word out to women over 40 that life doesn't stop after 40, that you can be healthy and thrive, and it's not too late, no matter how old you are, to change your living habits, to live holistically. And it doesn't have to be huge changes. Sometimes they're incremental changes, and sometimes you have someone tell you, you can do this. It's possible. I know it. I'm 58 years old. I'll be 59 in June. I started doing this when I was 51. I made a huge change in my life at the age of 51. So I know it's possible for you to make changes, to thrive, to achieve whatever the dream is that you have. And as long as you're well in your mind, your body, and spirit, feeling good, overall, to tackle those dreams, to push forward in whatever the journey is that you have, that you want to pursue, then you can do that. But the first step, and I'm sure Ramona will tell you, is being well, taking good care of you, and not letting anything get in the way of that, because that is so huge. Because when you're feeling good, some of the other things that might stress you out or upset you just kind of roll off your back, because you're feeling so much better than you were before, because you're making changes
And that is so
taking
true.
better care of yourself.
Not a lot of things bother me. And it's really funny when I was training with Christina Perillo, I just realized it in class one day. Not that I wasn't calm before, but I just felt a certain sense of calm. And I spoke to her about it, and she said it's your diet, it's the food that you're eating. You're eating the right types of foods. Your blood sugar levels are not going crazy because you're eating the right type of foods. But I definitely feel a lot calmer, and I don't sweat the small stuff. I really don't, because I think everything happens for a reason, whether it's good or whether it's bad. I think there's always something good that can come out of something bad. Do you know what I mean? I just,
Yes, I do. And I was thinking, because I believe in the whole continuum of mind, body, spirit. And I was just thinking to myself that after you get yourself healthy in terms of your body, you also want to take a look at your environment and your spirituality, and what's going on around you. What other toxicities do you have? Because sometimes people are toxic, relationships are toxic, jobs are toxic. Family members who we love so dearly, they can be toxic. All those kinds of things can contribute to how you're feeling. And once you start feeling better in your body because you're taking care of yourself, then you begin to examine other things. I know, because it happened to me. You'll begin to start looking at other stuff and other things that you need to do. And it's not that all of a sudden things are perfect, but you're just more aware. You're just more aware.
body, mind, and
And that's a
spirit,
good
they're
place
all
to be.
connected. You can't focus
Yep.
on one without looking at the other two as well. They're all connected, just like every system in the body is connected. We just spent an hour talking about gluten, and how it just causes a deterioration of other systems in the body. But mind, body, and spirit, they're all connected as well. So you can't focus on one or two and overlook
Absolutely.
the other ones. You can't.
Well, we're coming up to the top of the hour. We're getting real close to that. I just wanted to invite you guys to come back next week at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time,
All
or 6
right.
o'clock Eastern Standard Time,
You
or
got
3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I got it down. I got it. It was 3 p.m., right? 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time,
right.
6
Right.
p.m.
You
Eastern
got it.
Standard Time,
I
right?
said you get it. You got it.
Okay, I got
We're
it.
good. We're good.
I got it. We'll be here next Thursday. We're going to have with us Nancy Ferrari and Dr. Rowe, and of course, the wonderful, beautiful Ramona. We will be here to talk about all things that you need to be well in your mind, body, and spirit. My name is Lennis Woods Mullins, and
I'm sorry,
that's
somebody
Ramona.
just joined
Ramona,
and we're getting ready to go offline. Oh no.
I know. You know what? If you're just joining, welcome, welcome. You can go and do the replay in a couple of seconds, and make sure you come back next Thursday to join us live. We do talk about a lot of great topics. Next week, we'll be talking about nutrition again, and also how to stay motivated to get well. I'm going to have a motivation expert with us also. But thank you so much for joining us. We're so glad that you're here. I hope all the replay folks enjoyed it, and that you'll come back
Thank you
again
guys. Have a
next
good
week.
night. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye bye.